This is Jacqueline Jones Royster, Dean of the Ivan Allen College of Liberal Arts at Georgia Tech. This podcast is an example of 3 important commitments in our college. 1, to honor the legacy of Ivan Allen Jr., for whom the college is named, for his excellence as a business leader and for his visionary leadership of our city as mayor from 1962 to 1970. 2, to celebrate the incredibly rich and diverse history of Atlanta. And 3, to partner with community organizations around the city on initiatives of common concern in support of urban innovation and sustainability. Thank you for your interest in building memories. I hope that you enjoy this episode.
Thank you, Dean Royster. I'm Stephen Key, and I will be helping guide you through these historic buildings and places that we visit on Building Memories and try to uncover some of the stories and histories behind the walls of them.
And I'm Gene Kansas, a graduate of the Ivan Allen College with a master's in digital media, a co-host of Building Memories, and relevant to this episode, the Herndon Home. I was the recipient of the Alonzo F. Herndon Business Award as presented by the historic Southview Preservation Foundation. Alonzo Herndon is a hero of mine. I'm an entrepreneur and I know the difficulties that business can present. And when I think that I'm having a hard time, I think back to Mr. Herndon, someone who was born a slave and became one of the wealthiest citizens of Atlanta, someone who did more than give back to a community, someone who lifted a community up. And so it's just fun for me to be a part of this collaborative effort and part of this team.
Arriving at the Herndon Home, you will find yourself being greeted by just a treasure of a woman. I'll let her introduce herself now.
I'm Roberta Wall Phillips. I am a docent. A docent is a person who tells the story, not just points to an item and say, this is this room or that's that room.
The Herndon Home is located in Atlanta's Vine City neighborhood at the corner of University Place and Walnut Street. The campus of Morris Brown College, which used to be Atlanta University, is just a block away to the west. Let's head back inside and hear some more from Miss Roberta Wall Phillips about Alonzo Herndon's history and his beginnings in business.
We're in the home of Alonzo Franklin Herndon and his wife, Adrian. May I introduce you to the family? This is Alonzo Herndon, born 1858 in Social Circle, Georgia.
So the tour begins with this picture of Alonzo Herndon with his son Norris, and they're looking into each other's eyes. And being a father and having a young son, that photo is so moving and so touching. You can see the love and devotion there. And so starting at that, I think is in part makes the home more accessible on this emotional level. You connect more with it and you want to learn more about who is this guy and who are these people who lived here. It's a moment. And they're showing that this is a family's home. Mm-hmm. And there's also this obvious attention brought to generations, taking care of people you love and taking care of generations. And that's part of what happens beyond the home itself.
Well, let's go back to Miss Roberta now and learn more about Alonzo Herndon and his family and upbringing.
His father was white and his mother was black, and he and his mother lived on his father's plantation. They were enslaved there. They would live there until 1865, and after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, they became free people. Free to do what? Work some more. Became sharecroppers and did this for a number of years. And by the time Alonzo was almost an adult person, he kind of had it figured out. It's got to be something better. So he walked away from Social Circle to Jonesboro, Georgia, a distance of 50 or so miles, and was able to set up a one-room barbershop for less than $20. He had saved all of $11. And for that barbershop, he was able to get his training under someone named Daughter in Hutchinson. And he also went in business with Mr. Hutchinson. Then later he pulled out from Mr. Hutchinson and went to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and to Rome, Georgia with shops. But that was not great enough for him. He thought about it and came back south, further south, here in Atlanta, to the best city in the state of Georgia. And here he had several barber shops, but the one that he gets the most credit for was called the Crystal Palace. Had crystal chandeliers, porcelain and marble, beveled glass windows, the prettiest barber shop in the world. There were 23 black barbers who could cut hair immaculately, but could not sit in those barbers' chairs. Alonzo made that make money for him. Only cost 25 cents to get a haircut, 25 cents to get a shave, 10 cents to get your shoes shined, your coats pressed, or in the lower level, you could get a shower in the bathhouse. Only white clientele.
The Crystal Palace's flagship location was at 66 Peachtree Street in the heart of downtown Atlanta's Five Points area. There were, however, two other locations, one on Broad Street and one on Pryor. He would go on to invest a lot of his earnings from the Crystal Palace into real estate. He would eventually come to own more than 100 residential and commercial properties, real estate being the second venture into business by Mr. Alonzo Herndon.
And the third way that he made his money was insurance. In the black churches way back in the day, they had what they call benevolent societies. And these organizations would help us in our time of need with bereavements and sickness and etc. But the state of Georgia got in the ends of that and said that they were too similar to an insurance company, that they need to come downtown to the state of Georgia and put up a sizable deposit to secure them. Alonzo thought about it. Very smart man. People don't have that kind of money from the beginning. So he went around, bought up as many of them as he could, bought the first one from the Wheat Street Baptist Church up on Auburn Avenue for $140. Some of the others were given to him. He combined them and put the security deposit up and formed what is now the Atlanta Life Insurance Company. It's been in existence since 1905, and it is still in existence today.
I think that, part of being an entrepreneur is that you take a look at opportunities and you can identify them, and then you assess them, and then you make a decision on whether or not to move forward to execute upon them. And then you have to perform. And he was a genius at that. And, the benevolent societies of these churches, they had a need. He identified that. The community had a need to have insurance. It was, certainly in that time, incredibly difficult to do many things that the free people had the opportunity to enjoy. And he saw the business opportunity there. And it's one that also helped people. And the proceeds of that over the many years allowed both Alonzo and then Norris to help fund the civil rights movement and before that to help lay the foundation for it. And that's a huge deal.
Getting back to the house and history of the Herndons, here's Miss Roberta to tell us about the builders of the home as well as the designer, Alonzo's first wife, Adrian.
Had electricity and steam heat from the beginning. The only thing that people of none color put in the house was the electricity and the plumbing. Everything else was done by 10 black carpenters. Adrian, the first wife, drew what she wanted, and a team of 10 smart black carpenters, headed by a guy named William Campbell, put it together in 2 years' time. Now, Adrian is Norris's mother. Adrian went to school. Well, she was born in 1869 in Augusta, Georgia, and she went to school in Savannah for elementary school. She went to high school at Atlanta University. She went to normal school, which was called high school back in the day. And she also got her Bachelor's of Arts degree from Atlanta University. But after she married Alonzo, he had promised her that he would let her go away to study to become an actress. So she went to Boston School of Expression, New York School of Design. Very beautiful, very talented, could do all of the parts of Antony and Cleopatra by herself. But when it was learned that she was a black woman, she couldn't go any further because the stages of these United States were not open for beautiful, serious black women like herself. So she had to come back to Atlanta and start teaching at Atlanta University, where she was one of the 3 black teachers. All the other teachers of Atlanta University were white. She taught elocution. Elocution is speech and drama. Now, when she designed this beautiful home, she knew she wanted to be an actress. So she designed this 15-room Boers Arts classical home with a dressing room, with an open-air theater at the top of the building. But unfortunately, by April the 6th of 1910, she would pass on of Addison's disease, which was a kidney disorder. So she did not get to enjoy this beautiful home that they had been building since 1908, and they had only lived in it a few months. I feel all 3 of their contributions to the home. Actually, all 4, including Norris, because he picked up his parents' legacy. He did a lot for the community and for other civic organizations during his lifetime. So you can't help but feel it. I don't feel her presence as anything that's unnatural, but I feel her presence as being something omnipresent that you would enjoy, a person that you would have enjoyed being around. And she did design the home. She was not an architect. Those carpenters built it to her specification, and she passed on. And then 2 years later, he married the second lady, Jessica Gillespie, out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She would come here and take over as the mistress of this house. She belonged to the 12s Club. She put on different functions in her home, and she enjoyed the home. And I give her a lot of credit because she never, ever, it seemed, got rid of anything that belonged to any of the rest of them. We have many artifacts in this home and items that belong to the 3 or 2 or the 4 of them. All of the items in the home were purchased by them at some point in time.
So, Jean, did you have a favorite room in the house?
I had a few favorite rooms, but I think maybe even more poignant, I had a few favorite moments. Of course, there was the moment when I first saw the photograph of Alonzo Herndon and his son Norris. And then there was the room that I walked in, and there was the Victrola. And it wasn't just that this was like this machine for playing music, but Miss Roberta put on this beautiful song on this scratchy old record, and it just kind of transported me. And I think that that's part of the magic of the Herndon home, that ability to transport us to another place and at the same time to propel us forward.
Would you like to hear it? Victrola, talking machine. You have little needles here that needs to be replaced perhaps on another record put on, and you put it right here. You have to wind it here to make it
Home is loud and chaotic and full of people that you love but who drive you crazy. It's day to day. It's the little things. It's the big things. It's everything together in life behind walls, and the people that you're talking with know your language and you know their language without saying anything to each other. I guess that's home to me.
And when the home can go outside of its walls like this, what does it do?
It brings the community closer. You realize that person walking down the street isn't a stranger. They're your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
I am Jacqueline Jones Royster. On behalf of all of us in the Ivan Allen College, thank you for listening.